We'll go with basketball for right now because there's been a lot of talk about press conference and press conference sound. Whether it's John Calipari or Sean Miller, they've all given us gold. Even Mick Cronin over at,
Yeah,
at
over at
UCLA,
UCLA. Yeah.
gave us some gold as well. I feel like we've talked about this. This has been a season of sound bites.
Yeah, and it just gets better as the season goes on, and I'm sure once we start getting into crunch time here, where these teams really need to start making the runs if they want to make the tournament here on the men's and the women's side, we're just going to get even more sound bites, and eventually they'll start to turn to heartbreak rather than just funny ones. But yeah, there was a sound bite last night, and Vic Schaefer did not mince words. He did not think that the Texas Longhorns played well at all against Vanderbilt, and he was particularly think is going to be the player of the year as well. But take a listen to Vic Schaefer and
effort, energy, focus, that's a given, man. That comes with, it used to come with a scholarship, right? Now it comes with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And man, I'm fixing to go call my AD and tell him, man, I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry, because I am. And that's not the way you represent the University of Texas. And I wear it. I'm accountable. That's my team, but it's so disappointing. It's probably the softest team I've had in years, and I think that's what's hard when you come to a place like Texas, and you come to a program like Texas. You come and you want to be a part of that, but you have to be an active participant in that. You can't come ride the coattails. We lost some critical seniors that were tough, that were competitive, that played with heart every night. Everybody wants to judge and criticize and critique, but those kids brought it I could count on them every night. So when you come, you have to be an active participant. I didn't have too many active participants till I put that group in the second half. Those kids played well. They played hard. They came in down 26. We cut it really to 10. We fouled them for their last 6 points, if I'm not mistaken. So it just takes heart, y'all. And again, not taking anything from Vanderbilt. Man, I thought they were special. Thought those kids played hard. I had a coach spent 2 weeks on a scout, and we go out there and absolutely kicked it on executing it.
Wow. So you're right. Number one, he did not mince words. And secondly, I was waiting to see if he was going to use the S word.
yeah,
Because there are certain words that trigger a team. And you could say, hey, we have no heart. Some people might brush it off by saying, okay, coach is angry. But sometimes when you call a team soft, it almost takes it to the next level. It's almost like you're questioning the amount of work you put in, the physicality, the mindset. And he said it. He was like, it took him a while. First he said we had no heart a bunch of times. Then he said we're soft. And I wonder how much that reverberates with the team. If there is like a gut check moment with the squad, and it's like, hey, we got to go. Because a lot of coaches, Nick Saban was a master at this, use the press conference to basically, they're not talking to the press, he's talking to his team. It's an extension of his team meeting. He's just doing it through a different medium. I wonder if this was that in a lot of ways.
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah.
Because there's no other excuse for a team that's as talented and as poised as Texas to lose by 16, albeit, as he mentioned, to a very, very, very good Vanderbilt team. But when you have 2 weeks to instill a game plan and a scout for one player, and Michaela Blake's, and she still comes out and she still cooks you. Yeah, I mean, it's still, that's like embarrassing.
Yeah,
because I don't want to say all you have to do is just plan for her, because you've got Galvin, you've got some of the other secondary scorers as well. But when you're trying to stop, and this is what Bill Belichick did so well. He was able to limit the number one guy on each team, and he made the secondary guys come out and beat you. But when you try to limit the number one scorer and they still come out and just absolutely dominate, I mean, I played high school basketball, and I remember my high school coach, that would make his blood boil if all you tried to do was stop one person and they still came out and dropped 40 points. I mean, that just makes a coach just so mad.
Angry. And I'm glad that Noah on the back or on the front end clarified that soundbite, because it could be taken as he was throwing his coach under the bus, like, hey, we had 2 weeks of a scout and we couldn't get it done. He wasn't. He was saying, through a whole 2 weeks of scout, my team still couldn't get it done.
But I almost feel like then you're like fishing for something, because as a former athlete, like I could definitely tell he was talking about his players. Because,
same.
I mean, you have the game plan, you feel confident about it, and it relies on the players to go out and execute the game plan. And sometimes, when you're just not putting any effort in practice, when you're trying to go through the motions, this is what can happen. And so, as you mentioned, it could be that wake-up call for Texas moving forward. I almost feel like they're out of that number one seed, though, with this loss.
I looked up bracketology during it, ESPN's bracketology, and as of right now, they're a number 2 seed. The number 1 seed is UConn, UCLA, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. So I think if I had, a spot on that committee, is probably where I put it now, unless one of those 4 teams falter. I think that that is the case. Final thing before we do our picks here, Vic Schaefer's been in the game a really long time. I think the good coaches know which levers to push, which buttons to push, which things to hold off. I know you said there's been jokes on social media about the team transferring.
Yeah.
If he's already talking about them being soft, do you think that this probably could go too far, and now his team doesn't respond moving forward because of this? Or do you think that because he knows his squad, he knows that he could do this and still get what he wants out of it?
I think he knows his squad and he's able to do this. Now, I will say, if this was football, you would have a mass exodus of players. Because, I mean, just not going to mince words myself. I mean, I feel like we see this all the time in football. Whenever coaches call out their own players, all they're doing is like, well, I don't really care what you have to say. You're going to call me soft. That's disrespectful to me. I'm just going to go find more money somewhere else. I think he's just trying to push the right buttons here. I think this Texas team is going to bounce back, but it's definitely a little bit shocking to hear that.